To top business headlines in Nigeria, I have two picks. Microfinance banks, fintechs implement CBN's KYC rules. And the second is Naira's woes continue as IMF excludes it from June exchange list. Joining me for more on this is Muktar Mohammed, the CEO, Asheer Investment Limited. Thank you, Muktar, for joining me today. All right, so when Muktar joins me, we'll be talking about this. And for some fintechs, this could be a relief for them, not just the fintechs, but also their customers, especially as it's been a while since, they sort of stopped or they had to stop onboarding new customers. So having the opportunity to now onboard new customers means a good one. And of course, for some of the customers who are probably skeptical about what would be, the next phase, I'm sure they are now happy and reproved. Well, thank you so much, Muktar, for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
All right. So I believe that this news should be some relief for fintechs and their customers. What do you think?
Well, it's relief for them. Again, not only for them, for the owners of the business and also for those that they employ. You should know that the fintech space is also one of the largest employer of labor also in Nigeria. So I'm happy for them. I think it's a good thing because, again, they have more further reach. If you go to the market these days, mostly with the SMEs, they deal mostly with the fintech companies rather than using the larger banks, especially for small businesses. And so a lot of traffic do not drive through that space. And so I'm excited about that. And it's a good thing that it's happening and it's happening soon.
Well, at some point, some sort of began to wonder if the government was being so hard on fintechs. It simply sort of issued a guideline to traditional banks on reporting forex transactions, giving them a guideline and all of that. But for fintechs, it felt more like a clampdown. That's what some persons, were saying. Did you at any point share that sentiment?
No, not at all. You should know that if you are dealing with the commercial bank, and again, if you are dealing with people money in the country, in any country, their citizens' funds are always being regulated by the central bank. I think what the central bank realized is that there was not so much regulation in that space. So they needed to try to come up with more regulatory framework on how to monitor what is happening in the fintech space, especially go by what some decision that have come in or some finding that came in from the fintech space in terms of illicit funds and also trafficking in terms of trading in some of these instruments that the CBN felt that they were under ban. So I think they needed to increase the regulatory framework. They know your customer was virtually almost non-existent. It became an all-commerce affair for people to open banks through the fintech company because it was easy to just use their phone numbers and they are up there. So I think it's a good thing, but I never thought the CBN was being trying to clamp down on them. I just feel that the regulatory framework was not very firm, and so they tried to improve it.
Right. Now, in a bid to stabilize the foreign exchange space, we've seen a collaboration between the CBN and EFCC and some other, agencies. Now, towards the end of April alone, about 1,500 accounts belonging to individuals and companies involved in unauthorized, foreign exchange transactions were sort of frozen. What has been the impact of this move on the foreign exchange market? Have we seen some form of stability as a result of these actions? This is me not even including, the whole Binance story and all of that. Have we seen any improvement? Have we seen any change to say that, okay, actually, the CBN, EFCC were right all along?
Roger, there's no change. I've said it on your program, and I said what the CBN is doing is you are using administrative measures to try to stabilize the currency. The currency is suffering from fundamental issues, and those fundamental issues can only be addressed through the inject of liquidity. Now, some going after all these people that I think they're into fraudulent activities, getting the EFCC into it. If you look at it, it has always made them go under and then make the scarcity of the exchange rate. And because when you are freezing those accounts, also you are also reducing the liquidity in the system. So I don't think that has helped anything. I don't think it has done anything to stabilize the market. The market is still volatile, and it's still getting more volatile by the day. And liquidity in that market is not there. So we're almost getting back to where we were before we saw the little bit movement that we saw when the CBN decided to inject some funds into period of change. So I think I've not seen any change yet, because then the time the CBN was doing it, I think the change rate was about 1,300. Today we are doing 1,500 averagely. So I don't think anything has changed.
Okay, so for you, what more can be done? I mean, beyond these things that you have called administrative, what more can be done to, get that liquidity that we all need in the market?
Perpetual is not rocket science. Attract investment into your economy, attract FX flow, inflow, more trading, whether through crude oil or through non-oil sector, come up with the diaspora bonds to attract diaspora investment, or go out to get Euro bonds. Those are things. Then, or attract foreign direct investors or portfolio investors. As it stands now, none of these are happening. So you're not seeing this investment, even if the government have told us that the Minister for State for Petroleum said they were expecting about a 20 billion investment. Hopefully that comes through, because it's not the first time they are saying that. Then later on, we heard that a 7 billion investment is coming also. It's not the first time they are saying it. Hopefully it comes through. So again, they are also looking at the World Bank 2.5 billion that they said they will receive in the next 3 weeks. That could also help boost liquidity. Outside of that, I don't think they are doing enough to attract liquidity, or investors are not just confident in coming to the Nigerian market as it stands now because of the relative instability you have in the FX market. You have to stabilize that market if you want to get investors to come in with their funds.
Right. Now, talk to us about the importance. I mean, this taking us back to where we started from. Talk to me about the importance of a watertight regulatory space, especially in the face of illicit transactions and movement of funds. That's taking us back to the fintech conversation we started with.
When you talk about watertight regulations, they are done for particular reasons, especially when it seems to be transparent, then you CBN do. So I'm of the opinion that whether it's watertight.
Mr. Muktar, I guess it's the network.
Yes, it hasn't.
The network is sort of freezing. I can barely hear what you're saying. But generally, I was asking you a question about what you make of having a watertight regulatory space, especially when we're trying to, avoid the movement of illicit funds and transactions and all of that. If you can hear me, and let's hope the network is better, I'd like you to respond to that particular word in about a minute, then we can move on.
Yes, I'm saying that those things happen. When you want to regulate a particular space, you need to be tight on it, especially when you discover some illicit movement in that space. And I think that's what the CBN has done, because there seems to be a lot of movement in that space that was fraudulent, especially when you look at the Binance case, and most of these transactions were done through this platform. So there's nothing in it if you're trying to come up with a space when you discover there's an issues in that space. I think that's what the CBN did.
Well, many are already wondering what the Nigerian policy is on cryptocurrency. I mean, we had this conflicting, stories, maybe not stories, or let's say guidelines, or I've forgotten the word, but let's use the word guideline now. I mean, where exactly are we? Is cryptocurrency allowed or not in Nigeria?
I can't even answer that question, because I remember there came a point that SEC had a meeting with them. Later on, that meeting was cancelled. And so there's not been any clear-cut policy as regards crypto in Nigeria at the moment. I don't think the CBN have stepped their ground to tell us what. The only thing I know they've done is to say that banks cannot trade on crypto. And they also told the fintech companies that they will not be allowed to trade on crypto. So I think for now, I'm at a loss what the CBN is doing as regard that space. But for now, if you look at it, I think there's no definite clear-cut policy on crypto.
But don't you think we're missing out on some opportunities that particular, asset sort of offers?
Well, Perpetua, if you look at globally and where those assets have been allowed to operate freely, what has happened, you've seen that a lot of fraudulent activities have happened both in Canada, both in the United States of America. then the largest economy like China does not even allow it. So I don't think we are missing so much, especially if these companies that have better technology are still complaining about it. I don't think we are missing out. It's not a space that is just largely driven. One thing we know when we talk about the blockchain technology, we so much concentrate on crypto, but the blockchain technology itself is wider than crypto. But the main one that people talk about is crypto, and it has come with its own major challenge. So I think you don't have the wealthy to handle it. So the best thing you need to do is to don't even allow that space operate in your market, because again, a lot of funds that pass through those spaces, maybe in the developed economy, they are still having problems and sorting out some of these funds.
Well, our colleagues or fellow analysts in that space will not agree with you. They will say that there are regulations and all of that that can be instituted to control these things, KYC and what have you. But away from that, let's move now to the second conversation, which is, you want to say something very quickly?
But before we go to that one, you must, yes, you must know that crypto does not open up for regulation. They won't care about crypto. They don't want it to be guided by any regulation. They want it to be guided by market forces. So I don't think they'll be saying that they are open to that. It could be like a sense of desperation when you say you are open to that.
All right, so let's move away from that to Naira. Naira did not make the list of, IMF's list this time. Talk to us for the purpose of those who may be wondering what the significance of the representative exchange rates are. Maybe we begin by having you define it. What does it mean?
Well, it's just a normal process. When foreign investors want to come to your market, sometimes they look at the stability in your market, they look at your exchange rate, they look at the two-way exchange system. And sometimes it's this global platform they look at, IMF, World Bank, and then you remember the MIS platform also. We are still not there yet. So emerging market platform, we are not there also. IMF, we are not there. And so there are administrative processes, but they are mainly largely having effect when you want to see foreign direct investors or foreign portfolio investors. They look at those platforms to be able to make their decision on a particular country that they want to invest in.
All right, so if I get you correctly, are you saying that this publication is merely, or let's say purely informational, just for information's sake?
It's informational, but again, some foreign investors take that information to make their decisions on which country they want to invest in, because they look at that as one of the global institutions that regulate global markets. So they look at that, and if your currency is not listed there, they might not have that confidence to come into your market. It's just like when you have a Security and Exchange Commission, it's telling you that a particular instrument is not welcome in this space. Even if that instrument is being traded, it will be a higher risk for you to want to trade on that instrument. You might want to go with the Security and Exchange Commission. I'm just giving an example. So international investors sometimes look towards the World Bank, the IMF, to make decisions like this. And I think that's what has happened.
Well, looking at this, many analysts sort of believe the CBN is doing so much to save Nigeria's currency already, and that it may have exhausted every tool in its arsenal. Do you share the same sentiment?
I totally share it. It's been one of the chaotic, inconsistent policy. You come out today, you said really change should register. The following day, you are back again. You are telling us Bureau de Change should not register. You're going to give them funds. Then later you're coming again and say all Bureau de Change licenses have been revoked. And so it has been one of the most inconsistent policy statement from the CBN thus far, because it seems to be saying a lot of things that are not really adding up, are not giving investors more confidence to come to your market. I think they have exhausted all the administrative tools that they are using. They are using security agency, but that is not working, because the main fundamental is attack liquidity into your system. That is all you need to get this thing working, and they are not doing that yet.
Well, beyond the monetary tools of the CBN, which of course on one hand have also been hurting businesses and hindering output. Have we seen a corresponding action from the fiscal authority by way of, balancing and cushioning the effect, among other things? Because even the CBN, or let's say the Monetary Policy Committee, during their meetings, they always talk about having a handshake with the fiscal authority. They always talk about, consolidation and all of that. Are we really seeing that?
We are not seeing it at all, Patricia. We are not seeing it. It's non-existent. Because when you talk about the physical side, you look at their taxes. They are still telling us to pay not taxes, yes, taxes, but again, when you look at their tariffs in bringing in imported goods that are largely the key driver of inflationary pressure in Nigeria, because about 80% of what we consume in Nigeria is imported into this country, either in the form of food or in the form of machinery that will be used for local productions. And the exchange rate between, which is largely driven by the fiscal authority in the port authority, is high. Today you're doing 1,400, tomorrow you're doing 1,500. It's not consistent. And that is why the tax review committee is telling them to fix it at a particular, they are suggesting about 800 Naira to. So those are physical policies. It's not working. You look at the hike in tariff for electricity for Band A customers. Also, that also is increasing the cost of production, causing more pressure on the manufacturing sector. All these are largely fiscal policies that have been driven these are all policies that have been driven by the fiscal authority. Even the current strike that we experienced also was largely because of the non-seriousness on the physical side. And so that also sometimes have make a mess of what the monetary side would have done with the kind of effect some of these things have, because the physical side is independent of the monetary side, but there must be a synergy. If the physical side is hiking rate, the monetary side says hiking rate, the physical side should be doing a cushioning effect to make sure that businesses are not affected, their citizens are not affected, by coming up with a cushioning fiscal policy. But as it stands now, the monetary side is hiking rate, the phiscal side also is hiking tariff. Tariff are not consistent because of the profit that they think they grow, the revenue that they need. So there's no corresponding answer.
All right.
And who suffers is the businessman that suffers the middle.
Absolutely. There is a whole lot to talk about, really, but we have to go now. Thank you, Muktar Mohammed, CEO, Asheer Investment, for your time on the show.
Thank you for having me.